When it's all said and done and Marvel Studios has wrapped up the Multiverse Saga, we of course know that they're moving on to the Mutant Saga. So a brand new report has hit in regards to who exactly are going to be the big villains of not just the X-Men, but the entire phases, aka the big villains that are going to be at the center of the Avengers and the X-Men teaming up to fight them. So let's be honest about this. The Multiverse Saga has been a mixed bag of quality, mixed bag of plans, and a mixed bag of the actual multiverse concept. Sure, we've had multiverse projects, but there is a lack of a lot of multiverse projects that contribute to the Multiverse Saga. Now, the same can be said about the Infinity Saga, because not every project was directly contributing to it, but they were set during the same time and establishing other characters that would be important. Obviously, that's still going to be a thing in the Multiverse Saga, but it's fair to say that it has lacked coherent plans and a plan that's going to be very simply put together on a basic level that everybody can see coming. At the end of Avengers 1, Thanos is teased, and we know that's the ultimate end goal. Doctor Doom is first shown in the film that is literally one entry before Avengers Doomsday, and the previous villain, Kang, just sort of disappeared. Again, a lot of problems with the actors, planning, a pandemic, Disney problems have all contributed to this. But planning the future is exactly what Marvel Studios is doing. And the future does look bright with the Mutant Saga. So when it comes to what their plans are, what direction they want to go in, who they want as part of the Mutant Saga, and the villains of phases 7 and 8, well, it looks like that's been revealed. So post-Avengers Secret Wars, we are obviously going to start the Mutant Saga. We know this even if Marvel Studios has not directly stated and popped up a logo of it. Marvel Television's head, Brad Winderbaum, and Kevin Feige have said mutants are the next thing. And the Mutant Saga just makes sense. That's exactly where we're heading. So how are they going to do this? Well, obviously, one, restore timeline, mutants, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the Avengers, all the characters coexist in this one universe. It's now reshaped. The history that's been written is a little different, yet still the same, but we enter the age of everything coexisting. So now you got to move forward. And when it comes to Marvel Studios, prior to the Fox buyout and a Sony agreement, they were very limited on what villains they could use. Hence why, like an eighth fiddle Thanos ended up being a major villain that they focused on. And Thanos was really not a big threat prior to their plans, even in the comics. He was just a character that was there. The nerds knew him, but overall, people didn't really understand who he was, and he became a big deal. Now that Marvel's got Fox, they got more bought time, and they bought themselves a lot more time. So the villain of Phase 7 is going to be Mister Sinister. Now, chances are you're already familiar with this character, as he recently appeared in a pretty big way in X-Men 97, but Sinister is a villain obsessed with genetics. That's the easiest way to explain him, and making him a central villain to an entire phase would honestly be pretty smart. Think about it. You're going to need the X-Men to fight a foe. So when the X-Men are having trouble handling him, they're also going to need backup from the rest of the universe, as mutants are the big focus now. So the X-Men will bring in the help that they need from the Avengers. This making Sinister a bigger deal and a bigger threat to everybody, especially because of his involvement with Scott and Jean's son, who ends up becoming Cable. This literally can tie things back to not just the Fox universe, but also show us a future that isn't just X-Men are trying to save themselves, because think about it. One complaint I always have about the Marvel Comics is when X-Men's future is in peril, we barely ever get to touch upon what's going on with the other heroes. Why is it just the X-Men dealing with the fallout of a Days of Future Past or something like that? Well, now you directly incorporate the Avengers and the rest of the MCU into these stories. So Sinister as the first villain makes sense. But the big overall saga villain will of course be Apocalypse. So just to be right up front with you guys, this is the best possible choice and the only choice that they can go with. This is a villain that is more recognizable than Thanos ever was prior to the MCU making Thanos a thing. Not only that, Apocalypse enables them to tell very interesting stories, go to different locations that they've never been in, while also remaining on Earth 100%. Some of you that aren't familiar with Apocalypse, he goes all the way back to the ancient Egyptian dynasties. So when you eventually do a Days of Future Past / Age of Apocalypse story, you can't retell Days of Future Past because Fox already did their own version, and you can't really do the comics the same way because, believe it or not, the comics are greatly exaggerated to be this giant saga, which people always misinterpret or sell people on. You do what Marvel does best, a remix. So at the end of the first phase, when Mr. Sinister is ultimately defeated, you reveal that he has been working for Apocalypse. Where is Apocalypse? Well, that's the trick. He's here now, he's in the future, and he's in the past. So what has every Avengers film since the original done? Especially the last two, and of course the next two. They're going to give us multiple teams of Avengers that split up. So think about this. You get to the big Avengers Age of Apocalypse film. What do? The X-Men and the Avengers team up, and they have to split up. 3 different teams. Now, this is just me fantasy booking this, but if the reports are true, it will be Apocalypse, and it will be. One team is going to fight Apocalypse right now in the current timeline of the MCU. One team will fight him in the future, and one team will go all the way back to the dynastic Egyptian period. Each fight will have ramifications on what happens in the others, especially the ancient one and the modern one, which affects the future, where everything has been destroyed and Apocalypse rules the earth. So now you got 3 different things and 3 teams coordinating to make sure one timeline stays the same, the past is unaffected and saved while the future is being fought for, so they can defeat him before he travels through time. Essentially redoing Kang, but with a villain that people care about. And I truly believe that if the rumors are true about these 2 being the next big villains and them establishing them, that Marvel will truly hit another golden age of storytelling and direction. Because the X-Men are so recognizable, and Apocalypse being the anchor will work. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.